Hi there, this is Erin Nicole, and you're listening to the Move Happy Movement podcast. On this show, I interview people from all walks of life. Sometimes I do sermons from the divine when he whispers a topic to me. And in our household, we worship the Holy Trinity, Father of all of us, His Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit, 3 in 1. Sometimes I share music with you that he also inspires through me. I'm a descendant of King David on my father's side, and on my mother's side, professional musicians all the way up to my great grandfather memory of requiring all of his children, my grandmother and her, I think, 12 siblings. I don't know if they had a big farm family. He was a farm doctor, and he had high standards for music. They all were required to learn the piano, and then they each had a different instrument that they were to learn and to perform for him every evening when he came home from his medical duties of visiting the farms and checking in on his patients. I love it. I love how the Father designed me and where I come from. Oh, it's been such a beautiful journey. These last few years have been in a global contest, first in history and last in history, because I am with my husband by my side when he has returned to me. We are your global mental health ambassadors. How neat is that? They're adding 3, I'm believing they're adding 3 mental health ambassadors to each major nation worldwide, 87 of them. So 87 times 3, you do the math. And my husband and I are at the top. We are the teachers of teachers to all mental health ambassadors worldwide. And because the Father loves me so much, and this contest has been absolute HE double hockey sticks that I've been a part of. My competitors are involved in crimes against humanity. Yeah. They're terrible people. They're terrible human beings. And, wow, I'm just so grateful that the Father said, no, I didn't like that you tried to kill my child multiple times in the last 4 years and slandered her name and blocked her from making money for 4 years in not one of her businesses, not 2 of her businesses, but all 3 of her businesses. I only was able to make a few $100s in fundraising efforts for Erin Nicole Ministries when we launched it, our nonprofit arm of Move Happy in 2021. And I didn't keep any of the money. I didn't keep a salary. It was a gift. I was grateful that I was alive because our security teams, our presidential security teams, worked together to trick the enemy. The Illuminati, deep state, cabal, CCP, whatever you want to call them. The evil people that are the richest of the richest in the world. The organized criminals. And my warriors of light traced all of the crimes of the first 3 years of the competition because they picked the winner. They knew I was the winner. They knew my value because my hero knew my value, okay? And my hero became my husband in 2022, okay? There are no rules in love and war. And as I was driving early this morning to walk out and get my walking meditation in and get some spiritual health in to help you become empowered to find happiness from within through my voice, my real life stories, and any science and any scriptures that the Father decides to reveal to me as I speak to you right now. He whispered the topic. Almost doesn't count. Almost doesn't count. I've been listening to a variety of musicians my whole life. because Mom was really smart about getting us interested in a variety of genres, but she was also very protective about what lyrics we were listening to. We grew up in a very, I grew up in a very interesting neighborhood. Smack dab in Spanaway, Washington, and which is about an hour south of Seattle. This is like the hood. That's how I describe it, because my next door neighbors were teenagers when I was little, and they were selling drugs. That was pretty standard in the neighborhood. There was lots of meth labs. That was pretty standard in the neighborhood. None of them bothered us kids, though. They had a mutual respect and understanding, because either when I was a baby or before I was born, my parents were youth pastors, and they drove these teenage hoodlums, as I respectfully call them. They're now since grown and are grandparents, many of them. But they drove them to church. They had a respect for God. They loved Jesus, many of them. And even if they didn't love Jesus, they had a respect for my parents, because they could see that my parents were trying to do good things in the community. And they were just trying to pay their bills, doing the best that they could in a rough area. And so I grew up in a very interesting household dynamic. I was homeschooled up until 6th grade was my first year in public school. I was 11. And that was the same year my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And he was the sole income earner of the family. And I thought he was going to die. Yeah, it was nuts. And I was in my first year of public school. I was socially awkward. I didn't really know how to make friends. I thought that they would just come to me. And so one day I was talking to my teacher, because she was trying to make sure that I was okay. And I told her, I said, I don't know, my dad might die. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, he's got cancer. So then she started getting the kids that she trusted to start befriending me, because it was real life situation that impacted the entire family. And I don't know how I knew that cancer was scary at 11, but I did. And Les Brown actually said in one of his speeches that the word cancer is the most feared word in 7 different languages. It's tough if you're diagnosed with cancer. If you're listening to this right now, and I believe some of you are, that either just recently got a diagnosis, just survived your diagnosis and you're in remission, or you know someone that has. The treatment at that time was to kill the kidney with 90% alcohol. Excruciating pain my dad had to go through. And they don't do that treatment anymore in medicine, because medicine studies and makes enhancements, and they found out that that was not the most effective way, but they didn't know that back then. So the interesting thing about the body and the physiology is that if you're not aware about what kidneys do, they are the filtration system of all the junk. The blood goes through, the urine goes through, and they filter out salt, all kinds of things. That's why we all had to go on a low salt diet when I was 11 years old. I learned about nutrition at a very young age because Mom was going to cook one meal for the household, not 2 separate meals, one for Dad and then one for the rest of us. So we all sacrificed our palates, and it actually is a lot healthier to not have a bunch of added salt into your diet. It's yeah. So the other kidney, if you only are born with one, or if you have to, lose one or whatnot, or if you donate a kidney to someone else, the other kidney will actually enlarge in size. Our bodies are so in tune, and they know what we need for the most part. And so his other kidney enlarged in size, and it did double the filtration work. So essentially, how could I put this? It's It's essentially like if you are driving or flying an airplane, and I'm not a pilot, so this might not be a perfect example, but I'm trying to give you an analogy that you might understand a little better if you're not a medical person. And you have like, say the airplane has 4 engines, but it got shot at. 2 of the engines are out. Now you got to adjust, right? You don't have as much power. You might not be able to fly as high. You got to modify your life. You got to modify the situation, right? Almost doesn't count. He almost lost his life. But because he went in for his routine appointment with his doctor, and his doctor saw something concerning when he did an x-ray, he said, it might be nothing, but let's just double check, right? So hashtag star it, bold it. I want you to regularly get checkups. You should have a primary care physician. Now, in the last 4 years of this competition, and actually, it's been 7 years, since the Father called me to this assignment in 2018, I haven't been able to have a consistent doctor because of all of the address changes I've had, job changes I've had, where I either didn't have medical at all, or I had to earn it through a certain amount of time in the beginning, or I didn't have PTO, so I couldn't afford to take time off of work. And so the Father has carried me through medically. But when we sign these contracts, I'm going to get access to the best kinds of doctors, and they're going to be checking me and doing all the things. I'm going to get my teeth cleaned. Oh, I can't wait. I know that that's something that I need to do. You know, when you wake up and you're coughing up blood, it's not good. But when the Father assigns you something so big and powerful, and people that are the most evil rich people in the world are siphoning your bank account time and time again, forcing you into homelessness 4 times in 4 years, forcing you to move addresses 17 times because they just buy a house that you live at. They would hack in, find out where I lived, abusing their powers of technological communications, and then they would offer the homeowner an astronomical amount of money so that I'd have to move, to trip me up and try and cause me to fail. But I've been laser focused on this mission, this assignment that the Father put on my heart back in 2018, that I am the person that's going to help you with your depression. Now, I didn't know how. I wasn't concerned with the how, like Steve Harvey says. Don't concern yourself with the how. Your job is to focus on the what. What is it that you want me to do, Father? And be obedient. Be grateful. Wake up every day, get down on your knees, and be grateful that you're not dead, right? That you've got the ability to move if you can move, that you've got air in your lungs, right? Things that we take for granted. Get grateful for those things, and the more grateful we are and serve in our areas of strength, the more responsibility He will be able to provide us. He allows us to be tested. We get little tests, little tests, little tests. You pass it, boom, get a bigger test. Pass it, boom, get a bigger test. Fail it, that's okay. He's a good, gracious Father. You might have to go to the sidelines for a second. You might have to backstep a few. Take a pause. Go into, as Pastor Joel Osteen would call it, a pruning season, right? Where you don't think there's anything going on. You don't see any growth going on. But He's actually pruning you and about to prepare you for a huge trajectory in your destiny. That's where I'm at. I'm like days away from signing contracts and being reunited to my husband. Top security advisor for our commander-in-chief that just got voted in. Yeah. And should have been also 4 years before, but that's okay. There's a time and a place for everything. I believe the Father protected Donald Trump's reputation from being involved and blocked him on purpose. Because had he been in position then everyone would blame him for how bad the economy is. Everyone would blame him for the people that have invaded our nation and all kinds of things that have happened with poor leadership in power. The Father loves Donald J. Trump. I know it because he told me to vote for him. And I listen to what the Father tells me to do. He's kept me alive. When the richest, evil people in the world that have access to all kinds of things and could hire professional hitmen, and they did. They hired the presidential security team of Biden to have me killed and make it look like a murder-suicide in 2020. But he decided to trick the lady and take her money and sent me to Trump's team because he knew he couldn't handle it. And Trump hires the best. He went to someone he was trained by. He followed military laws and orders. And I can't wait. If he would like a hug in that meeting, I will give him a big hug. And my mom's going to be in that room. And she gets to see these grown men that chose to protect me. And they didn't know me. All they knew about me was from my content on social media. And then when the guy from Joe Biden's team, Jason Johnson, well, that's his front name. That's not his real legal name. You got to have fake names when you're protecting presidents. Like, they will come after your family. So our nation is the best. Our security teams are the best. And I can't wait. My mom's going to be so happy in that room because they put her through hell in the last 4 years. Oh my goodness. She's a prayer warrior. She's a woman of faith. She is meek. But no one's ever been through what I've been through. No one has ever done a contest like this before worldwide. And when you get access to money and power and you're evil and you think that you can get away with crimes, you'll do whatever you do. And that's why we need our first responders. That's why we need our military to keep people accountable. And I'm so glad that Team Trump picked me and has been protecting me. Oh, they've been protecting me. And they've also been tracing all the criminals. They've traced every single crime in the last 4 years conducted against me, my network, my associations. If you read the book, The Art of War, by, I think, Sun Tzu, if I'm remembering correctly, if I pronounce the last name right. I was given a gift of the book. It's very simple, but also complex book. It's very small, I should say, not simple. It's a very small book. I highly recommend you read it. But it says in there specifically that if you're in a war, right, you got to think like your enemy. And what would the enemy do? What would the enemy try to do? So I was protected by the top security advisor of President Trump, and he never told me who he worked for. Because he couldn't tell me who he worked for. Because it's a national security risk. Anybody could find me, capture me, and torture me for information. That's what he told me, Erin. That's the level of security you're under. I was like, oh, well then don't tell me anything I'm not supposed to know. He goes, I'm not going to. He said, but I'm going to train you. I'm going to prepare you. If you want to do this contest, then I want to make sure that I give you the best training possible. I was like, okay. So he evaluated me first. He didn't just say, okay, because you want to do this. No, I wrote a 20-page paper, 20 plus typed up single space paper submitted on Veterans Day 2020 with a lack of sleep because a hit was put on my life and I knew it. I had to go into safe housing, and they committed identity theft at the same time trying to steal my intellectual properties. They hit me from all angles at the beginning. before I even entered the contest, to put so much fear in me because I refused to join their evil cult. They wanted me. The other side, the black hats, wanted me. They saw my value, just like Jesus Christ was tempted in the desert. The enemy knows how valuable he is and said, if you would just bow down before me, just one time, you will have all the riches in the world. And he's like, don't tempt me. Absolutely not. And then what else did he say, Father? He was like, he took him to, in some versions of the Bible, he took him to the top of the mountain and he saw all four corners of the earth. So that's another topic too. How can you see four corners of the earth if the earth is round? That's another topic for another day. But he took him to the top of the mountain and he was able to see everything. And he said, all of this will be yours if you would just bow down to me. And he said, don't tempt the Lord. Do not tempt the Lord your God. And he's the Son of God. So he knew. And then, poof, the enemy went away. The temptation was gone. And then how did Jesus die, right? He had to die. He had to die for us all. I don't desire to go out like Jesus did, but I've tried my best to choose love in all circumstances like he showed us how to do. His name has been known for thousands and thousands of years because of his ability to love others, perform miracles. He received gifts from heaven, I believe, because he chose love. He was obedient to the Father, and he was the ultimate role model for all of us to emulate. And I've tried my best to be like him, but a female version in my life circumstances, with being a survivor of childhood sexual abuse from 3 to 5, which is extremely common in a household where you are homeschooled. It's actually really common in the white paper research. I've tried my best to be loving and kind when surviving rape from a boyfriend in college. I never thought I would be raped by anybody, let alone someone that I was dating. And I told him the week before that I wanted to wait until marriage. And he was in the military. He was a ranger. Yeah. I didn't tell anybody or speak it out loud or anything for 15 years because I was so ashamed. I took his decision and put that shame on myself, which is not good. And because I didn't go and get the proper therapy, and I recommend you do, if you get raped, go get the therapy that you need, go process through, don't stuff it. I got extremely promiscuous after that, which is also normal in the research. If someone has been a victim of a sexual crime against them, it is common for that person to no longer care about their body, and so then they will just sleep around with a bunch of people and be promiscuous. And that's what I did. I'm not proud of it, but that was a lot of my 20s until I met my first husband and we cohabitated, and I didn't invite God into my life for many years because I was hurting. But I still prayed privately. But it wasn't until towards the end of our relationship when I got reconnected through a friend back to getting connected to God and Bible study and help volunteering with the Awanas. And I had known her since we were 3 years old in the church that my parents were youth pastors. Tacoma Baptist. It's changed names since then, but I believe Pastor Herod is the head pastor there, and he was friends with my dad and his wife Erin. Just really strong, spiritually sound leaders. And in their preschool, Sunday school program, whatever, my friend and I were in diapers together. And she was daughter of a man in the Air Force, and they moved around, got stationed in different places, and then they came back in junior high. And so we spent junior high and high school together, and she even helped me in my college classes. And she didn't go to my school. She was really studious, but she didn't believe that she was supposed to go to college. She was the one that got me interested in reading and helped me to become an avid reader, helped me to be a better studious student in Miss Wheeler's class in high school. Miss Wheeler was featured on the Move Happy Movement podcast. I actually interviewed her when I was off-grid with my hero in 2020. And she was talking about the PhD that her studies and research was on was negative information about Trump. And I was like, I don't want them thinking that that's my opinion. He never told me who he worked for, but I kind of figured things out. And they didn't do anything. They didn't attack me because of my association's political preference. No, he believes in freedom and letting people think for themselves. And it was in Miss Wheeler's class. Now she's Dr. Wheeler. It was in her class that Melissa helped me to up-level my game, and I picked her class. I was in an advanced English class the year before, and it was too stressful for me, and I wanted to focus on my music because I was more passionate about performing than I was about syntax and grammar. I really didn't care. It's important. You should care a little bit. But I knew that I wasn't supposed to do AP classes like my middle brother. I was like, no, I'd rather be with my friend because then we can study together. She helps me be a better student. Almost doesn't count. I almost didn't make it through this competition in life through many challenging circumstances, but he carried me through, which is a song that I released about a week ago on my YouTube channel. It's not a super strong YouTube channel just because my tech's been messed with for the last few years, but I'm believing that the Father told me, and what he tells me goes. He told me it's going to be on every radio station in the United States, not just Christian radio stations. Like, it's going to be on every radio station. I was like, really, Father? That's a pretty bold statement. He carried me through much calamity, took care of my needs, and dressed me like royalty. And I even have the chords and everything. He gave me the song in less than an hour. Like everything, lyrics, melody, chords, you name it. And that's my 121st song that he's gifted me in the last 4 years of this contest, while having to move 17 times, while being forced into homelessness 4 times, forced to change jobs, while being forced to separate from my husband with 0 contact for 941 days. Almost doesn't count. If the enemy tries to attack you, you got to shift and move, be flexible. You got to be resilient. You got to be able to bounce back from adversity. They had to test me to make sure that I would be representative of veterans and veteran spouses. They had to make sure that if I was this person worldwide that was responsible for your mental health, for 7.5 or whatever billion people, that I would be an ambassador, that I wouldn't be giving up so easily and getting sent to a psychiatric hospital for mental health treatment, like my closest competitor has for the last 4 years. 130 now? Wow. Father just told me she has been hospitalized 130 times. My closest competitor in the last 4 years. Most of those times are weekend getaway spa retreat, they call it. And they manage her social media accounts and they pretend to be her. Fake. No, the Lord does not like deceivers. The Lord does not like liars. truth remains. Cheaters never prosper. The evil people of the black hats have spent a lot of money because of this contest. And they thought that they could just pay to take out the competition. And they probably could have, had I not been sent to who I was sent to, quite frankly. Because there was no reason why he should have kept me alive. But he decided to ask me questions. We became friends. I took him to his doctor's appointments at the VA clinic. I was giving him rehab as we were walking around. He was in a wheelchair initially, and then he started getting healed just by being around me. He said, not me, he said he was getting healed of his ailments being around me. I was like, what? That's really? Okay. Started giving him tips on how to rehabilitate, certain exercises and things of that nature. We were taking care of each other. He fell in love with me right away, and I was like, whoa. I'm flattered. I'm very flattered, but I'm not trying to marry you to win this thing. I believe in love, and if we're going to marry, it's because we love each other, we're in alignment with our faith, and you're going to support what I desire to do with this mission. And I made him wait a year and chase me. He gave me my space, and I edified him, and I launched Erin Nicole Ministries because of him. And his boys, his warriors of light. Hello, dear. Oh, what a beautiful sight in front of me. Hello, you're so pretty. Erin Nicole Ministries was launched from homelessness. The first concert we had in an Airbnb on Valentine's weekend, 2021. I was in the Airbnb only because my mom sent me emergency money. I had lost all of my income and had to rehabilitate in a new area. And I didn't have residency. So I couldn't apply for housing because I had to be a resident. They had to have proof of my residency for 3 months or 6 months. I can't remember. It was a while ago. So I launched the nonprofit. I just knew, even though I was homeless and I was like unstable ground, the Lord leads my steps. He guides my path. And I just wanted to show how grateful I was that they chose to protect me, even though he kicked my ass out of his house and was an asshole to me. He was a complete asshole. He didn't give me a key when I helped him get his housing. He was jealous of my time in the beginning. I was writing a blog at the grocery store. He didn't understand why I was he thought I was addicted to my technology. And vain. He thought I was focused on myself. I said, no, I am obedient to this calling. But he knew that they had asked him advice for the 3-year illegal contract. And he knew that anything that I would do, they would just steal anyway. And he didn't want me to go through that pain. And so he had to act like he was an asshole to me because he wanted to protect me. He loved me. He covered me. He did everything that a real, true man is supposed to do for a woman. And he showed me the love of the Father. And he wasn't inappropriate at all. He was respectful of me. And I am so stubborn that I didn't see it. So I made him wait a year. And I spoke the story of what he did for me that whole year to veterans and first responders and their spouses all year long, hosting free concerts online when there were no concerts during the pandemic. and TV shows sent me their top finalist artists, and music professors performed, and so many people showed up to sing with me. I created a new stage because the Father told me to. And my opponents were committing espionage. They were hacking into my technologies. They were blocking my events. Anytime there was someone that they didn't want to be successful, they would mess with their technologies to interrupt the experience. They did all kinds of things, blocking the email invitations from being sent out to veterans and first responders that were free in America, free worldwide. But you had to give me your email address, and then I would send you the invitation. I was being very particular about how I sent it out because of what had happened. I didn't know who I could trust, and so I had to be very specific with how I sent the invitations out. And I got a secondary email address that was through Microsoft instead of Google, because it was a second business, hyper secure, supposedly, and didn't type my email address in any direct messages on social media, because that was how they were stealing my information. And so I had to just ask people to provide me their email address, and then I would add them to the invitation list. And then once I added them once, then I would just continue inviting them all year long. If they wanted to come, awesome. If they weren't available, no big deal. And I didn't even know that my concerts were being blocked, and they were spamming my email account, like illegally messing with my invitations just to sabotage the concerts. But almost doesn't count. We still did it anyway. We still executed 11 concerts that year while I worked full time and had to move a bunch of times. 11 free concerts, and I worked like freaking 7 days a week as a slave most of the time for the post office in the beginning, because I was a rural carrier associate. I was a substitute carrier for your mail. And everywhere was an opportunity for me. So almost all my coworkers were veterans, or they knew a veteran. So I was like, hey, who do you know? I'm doing these concerts. And then I moved in with one of my coworkers. And, such a cool guy. And he's married. And his wife worked there too. And they divorced. And they actually got remarried. And just the love story of that. And he connected me to the actress, singer from the TV show Nashville, because that was his wife's roommate when they were separated. Everywhere's an opportunity. Almost doesn't count. If you've got a destiny, and everybody does, you got to lean into what yours is. And don't let any haters, even if they're cyber attacking you, even if they're messing with your bank account, changing your address, doing all kinds of things, stay laser focused on what your purpose is. And say, all right, okay, here's a new situation. All right, what do I need right now? What are the priorities? Okay? You gotta have your housing. You gotta have, if you're doing an online concert, you gotta have electricity, right? I knew what I needed, so I was like, okay, I was strategizing where I was gonna stay at the Airbnb, since my mom gifted me housing for 2 months. She was able to send me emergency money. And I knew I needed good internet. So I reached out to a person that was a gamer. Because gamers, you better believe they got to have good internet. They're not going to have their game interrupted when they're video gaming. And where all my Twitch fans at? Yeah, make sure to follow us on Twitch. We got the account. I don't really do content yet, but we will be in the future. So make sure you follow move-happy, I think is how how it's on there. Should be. Oh, it's going to be lit. Oh, it's going to be so lit. The next few years is going to be amazing. The amount of stress they've put me under and pressure and tests. And when I say they, top government leadership all around the world, top military leadership, all eyes have been on me for the last 4 years of this contest. And we won. The team with the white hats, we won. I'm so excited. Oh, man. We're days away from signing contracts. I just know it. I believe it in faith because I was given this gift, the spiritual gift of prophecy from the Father. And he reveals things to me from the spiritual realm. I can't explain it. I don't control it. When he reveals something to me, it is of the future. And when he reveals it to me, sometimes he'll give me a date, sometimes he won't. Sometimes he allows me to share it with you, sometimes he doesn't. It's a very special gift. It's priceless. That's why they picked me also as a chief spiritual officer of America, because Donald J. Trump is the king of the white hats, and he needs the top spiritual advisors to look out for your children, because these evil people have been abducting kids for way too long and doing all kinds of nasty things, these nasty pedophiles and all kinds of sickos. Those were my competitors, yeah. But a lot of them cover up their trail and do all kinds of things, and, you know, they're nasty people that handle business for them, right? So they can keep their hands clean. Well, my hero is a very wise person, and he knows how to think like the enemy. And so he and his boys decided to trace all of these criminals for the first 3 years of the contract that he was the advisor on. And they got so pissed that he and I married each other. They're like, wait a minute, this is not according to our contract. But they couldn't say anything because they signed an illegal contract behind closed doors to commit crimes. And they thought they got away with it. Oh, the Lord does not like when his children are being harmed. Not at all. Justice will be served in his timing. And I believe the more merciful we are to others, the more mercy he shows to us. So what the White Hats have done during the capitulation tour and afterwards, if you check out The Greatest Show on Earth, you'll see some information on there by Nick Alvier. He's got a part 1, part 2. And also I recommend you follow Rattle Trap 1776, Derek Johnson. He's very knowledgeable about laws and orders. Dr. Jan Halper Hayes is great as well. She's like a political, what is her title, Father? It's like political analyst. She does a variety of things, but very smart lady. Check out her channel as well. It's biz_shrink, I think is her handle. Or you just type in the search, Dr. Jan Halper, Halper. Hayes, I think, is Hayes, and you'll find her information. But very eye-opening, very eye-opening. The White Hats went to all the major nations very strategically over the course of a few years, and everybody capitulated to Trump, meaning they didn't want to be involved with crimes against humanity, and they decided to join forces with him to fight against it. And he wiped our debt clean in America because of it, because a lot of these nations that were involved in the crimes against humanity, they also said that we owed debts to them. And so he changed laws to make sure that if anyone was involved in crimes against humanity, that we get to take their assets. Yeah. And, oh, I'm going to be so rich. All the crimes done against me. I can't wait. And I believe the more generous we are to others, the more generous the Father is to us. He's continually provided me therapy ideas throughout this 4-year competition in music that's going to be ongoing, what do you call it, like cyclical money revenue coming in, like recurrent revenue, like sustainable income, right? It's going to make me wealthy. And these countries are going to be paying me for my spiritual gifts and having access to my therapies. And then I'm going to distribute by my 40th birthday for the rest of my life 90% of my income. And then when I pass away, we're going to make sure, I'm hoping that Tony Robbins becomes maybe a board member or whatnot, but I want to set up my business to make sure that it's a legacy, so that the money flowing in through my businesses long after I pass away will continue flowing in, and we can continue giving 90% of my income away to the poor, like Jesus said to do, so that my legacy will live on and on and on, because I'm a descendant of King David, and Jesus Christ came through that bloodline. I'm in the bloodline of Jesus Christ, and I didn't even know it until I started doing the work on learning my family history, because my household was a quiet household. We didn't talk much. When I was really little, there was lots of yelling. My dad yelled a lot. He was angry. He was detoxing from smoking cigarettes all week long, and he hid it. Like, I love my father. I love the history of him. He worked really hard. He was a great provider, but he had some anger issues, and he decided to work on his anger issues when I drew a picture of him and my mom at 5 years old. And I said, Daddy, I don't want you to get divorced. He knew that it impacted his children, his behavior. So then he started tightening up his ship. Almost doesn't count. The enemy can try to destroy your family from the inside out through emotional challenges, through anger problems, right? But you can change and shift your behavior. Any of us can. At any moment, we can learn to be better. For me, I've learned that meditation has helped a lot, and prayer has helped to emotionally regulate my stress. They have tested me to try to get me tripped up and angry many times over the last 4 years. And I'm not going to say I didn't get angry, because it's okay to get angry, but it says in the scriptures to not sin in your anger, right? Do not let the sun go down while you're still angry, right? Try to talk things through with your family members if you're upset about something before you lay down, so it doesn't fester in your body, right? There's physiological positive changes in regards to meditation. It helps, I believe, add gray matter, and that helps with your emotional regulation. I recommend it, even if you don't think that you like it. It's a skill, like any skill, you can make improvements on, but it takes time. What I noticed the year that my dad died, where Move Happy was first birthed, and I created it in a psychiatric hospital, I was co-facilitating a mindfulness-based cognitive therapy class with a licensed therapist. I was a co-facilitator. She invited me to co-facilitate with her, and I meditated with the patients. We meditated in the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes of a 50-minute class. And I started to notice within a week or two that I was craving the meditation, that I noticed a difference on the weekends, because it was Monday through Friday. On the weekends, I noticed I was more anxious. I was more stressed. I was also by myself in my thoughts and feelings and grieving the loss of my dad. So I started getting more into meditation, because I noticed that it was helping me to emotionally regulate my depression. So I encourage you, even if you don't think that it works for you, it works for everybody. But you might have to cut something out in order to add it in. But believe me, it is way more worth it to get into meditation and prayer. most of my therapy ideas and songs have come while I was meditating. And each therapy, I believe, $1 trillion value asset in multiple verticals. I can't wait to sign these contracts. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait. The Father is so amazing when we choose love. He sent his Son on purpose to show us. He sent Jesus to the earth. He sent him on purpose to show us exactly how we're supposed to live an abundant life and not worry about anything, to cast our cares on him, that he will provide for our every need. And he's proven it to me time and time again over the last 4 years. It's been freaking amazing to see it in my own life, to see him equipping me and getting me more spiritually sound and teaching me scriptures when I had learning disabilities as a child, from the chronic abuse, from 3 to 5, forced into fear, increased cortisol in my body, in my mind, in my brain. And the research at that time said that I would always struggle with my learning and I would never improve. And I told that to my middle brother when I first moved across the country. And he said, I don't believe that at all. And I said, you don't? He said, no. Like, neuroplasticity. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. But research takes time. Hi, dear. Hi, baby. Research takes time. Scientists at the university levels, they do their research based on the funding available to them, or at least they used to. The Father flipped it upside down with Erin Nicole in the last 4 years, okay? But it takes time, at least that traditionally, medical model. You have to get I or B approval, right? You have to do all these things. You have to pay researchers. You have to pay these people to participate. You have to, watch the research, measure it, write the paper, and then hopefully somebody reads your paper and then transfers it, disseminates it. Maybe the military uses it, tests it on their soldiers and retired veterans, and then it disseminates to the masses. It takes a long time, traditional research, for science, for empirical studies, to turn into translatable information. But the Father knew about the plandemic long before the enemy had it in the plans. And he assigned me as the person long before he even revealed it to me. When I was in the psychiatric hospital working in the Pacific Northwest, the Western State Hospital, when my dad died that year, I developed 5 therapies and implemented them because my boss was supportive of me and I knew how to design a study and I didn't cost the hospital any money. And I, in fact, added value, verticals to the hospital. And the CEO wanted to meet with me to potentially do business together. And she is now a politician in Washington State. When the Father gives you something, especially a woman, you receive it, you multiply it, and you give it away. If you're a good woman. That's what I've been able to do everywhere I go. And I've got 76 therapies so far, and he's going to give me 1,000. He already revealed it to me on a previous podcast in my lifetime. 1,000 therapies? Are you kidding me? Yeah. I can't wait. I can't wait. They had to block me from making money over the last 4 years of the contest because they had to see if it truly would be me as being the assigned person worldwide, or if it would be someone's money, right? Because if someone gave me money during the contest, then I didn't really do the work myself, right? So they blocked me in every single possible facet to test me. And Trump's team picked me, and they knew that I wasn't allowed to make any money. They knew that they would be slandering my name. They knew that they would steal any associations that I had publicly edified. They knew that they had added illegal mental health diagnosis to my permanent medical record. They knew I had been sexually harassed in the workplace and blocked from making money while also executing a free therapy experience and having the head of the psychology department of an Ivy League university send me personally her own book on resiliency, wanting to be a part of it, and blocked her from gaining access to being a part of it, and blocked all the invitations for 225,000 on the invite list. They knew that these a-holes don't care about your mental health at the top level. They do not care. The evil people in the black hats do not care about your mental health. They want to depopulate the world. That's what they want to do. And the white hats aren't about that at all. The white hats want you to multiply your families. Have children, right? Keep your lineage going strong. If you're making good decisions, you're a good person regardless of how you identify your faith. If you're spreading love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, self-control, long-suffering, and you desire to lean in to the life of your dreams, join the white hats. If you're not already, join us. Join Team White, which is love and light. It's not about skin tone. It's not about race. It's not about religion, sexual orientation, or creed. It's about love. The love that the Father designed for us to receive and to give. Oh, I can't wait for the next few years. It's going to be so lit. And the rest of my life, really. But I really can't wait for you, because I just have this joy in my heart when He healed me from suicidal ideations completely. I had had off and on for 18 years because of the abuse I experienced as a child. PTSD, undiagnosed. Yeah. And the rape in college, where the first responder told me not to press charges because this man would lose his career. But I prayed on it, and I decided that the Father desired for me to show this man mercy, because a lot of his buddies had died overseas, and he wasn't allowed to talk about it because they weren't even supposed to be in that country. I showed him compassion. But that meant that I was long-suffering for 15 years in silence. Didn't tell anybody about it. Had to deal with my own PTSD in my own way, through service, and make good decisions. And people have learned so much from me over the last 4 years, and I've learned so much. I just desire to spread love and be a blessing everywhere I go. Love the Father first, and love others second. And sometimes you catch me on a bad day if if I haven't gotten good sleep, because naturally, when when the deep state puts a hit on you and your husband because of who his boss is, through your own business partner, you lose a lot of trust in your government and in the military. But the Father has healed me through different positive interactions with new people in my life, and He's made some very powerful promises to me for my future. I fear nothing. And my husband and I are going to be probably the wealthiest people in the world, and we're going to distribute our wealth to the poor, like Jesus said to do. So I'm going to give you a chance right now to connect directly with the Father. Okay, Ephesians 4:13 the Father has given me. James 4:5, Malachi 3:4-7. Okay. Anything else, Father? Okay. If you'd like to connect directly with the Father and have a personal relationship with His Son, Jesus Christ, and have the Holy Spirit working in you and through you, even when you are weak, just repeat after me. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this gift of salvation. I can't earn it or buy it. You give it freely to those that love you and your Son. Father, I know I'm a sinner. I've made mistakes, but I don't desire to continue in that way. Please come into my heart and never leave my side. I pray this in your heavenly name. Amen. If you just prayed that prayer for the first time, we want to welcome you to the family. Your next step is to get plugged into a Bible-based church. You want to keep God first place. And you ask, Father? Okay. How much, Father? Okay. He says, go ahead and donate 10% of your income to Erin Nicole Ministries. You can go on our website. It should be up and running now, erinnicoleministries.org. I did receive an email from their IT support saying that I didn't pay my bill, but I did, and I already looked at it. I paid it through till 2025, so I'm sure as I record this that the team is going to investigate and make sure that people are not committing espionage again in my Christian nonprofit ministry that is respective and non-discriminatory towards all faith systems and will be benefiting all major nations worldwide. Legacy. I am a legacy wealthy brand. No one steals from me, because if they steal from me, they steal from you, top leaders of all nations. And I don't think the white hats are going to allow that. So I thank you in advance for donating. If the website still isn't working, you can send us 10% of your income. You can mail a check to our mailbox for Erin Nicole Ministries. Just go ahead and make the check payable to ErinNicoleMinistries. And then in the memo, put tithing, if you'd like to put that. Or you can specify your tithing to our Healing Harmony Place, which is the home that we're going to be getting built to welcome veterans and first responders for some R&R relaxation and healing. Other option is to have it be miscellaneous. You can have it be donated to our music ministries to help us pay for professional recording of the music that will then be distributed to different churches and synagogues and temples and mosques worldwide. However you desire to put the purpose for it is up to you. And then on the outside of the envelope, go ahead and mail it to 1477 Tiny Town Road, hashtag or pound, 191, box number. City is Clarksville, Tennessee, 37042. And we thank you in advance for your donations. It is a 501c3. However, our federal government has blocked me from receiving all kinds of access and information. When even I called and asked questions, they want to require me to jump through hoops and wasting my time. So it may or may not show up on the federal government side, but if you look at Tennessee's side, I am a 501c3. I do have a bank account that is a 501c3. I've done my part, and people are blocking me from setting up properly as a woman in America, discriminating against me in my business because of my gender. And I know that Donald J. Trump is not going to allow that for very much longer. So a few days left. Few days till we sign these contracts with all the presidents, all the first ladies, Oprah Winfrey, Beyonce, Jay-Z, Tony Robbins, Sage Robbins, Pastors Joel and Victoria Osteen. Going to be in that room, in the U.S. Marine veteran that was a part of the original Move Happy program. And of course my mother and my middle brother. We're all going to sign accountability contracts. And then we're going to keep moving forward. Then I'm going to actually start getting paid for all the work I've provided, all the value I've provided. I can't wait. I can't wait for the meeting to take place. I can't wait. Oh. Yes. Yes. Anything else, Father? Oh, I'm so glad you woke me so early this morning. So early. All right, love you guys. Don't forget to tell someone you love them today. And we'll see you next time.